Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it's queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there's some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Hello YouTube. Today I'm at Robert Frost's farm just outside of Derry, New Hampshire, and he lived here from 1900 till 1911. I'll explain why such a short time a little bit later, but this was your typical New England farm in that everything is connected. Now it's labeled a farm as sort of a mislabeling. This side of the road was orchard, apples, probably some pears, and the other side where all the trees are now was pasture for his cow and his horse. And he discovered early on that farming was just not his thing. And so he took a job down the road at a academy and taught there. Busy roads, if you forgive the noise. And they actually had a telephone installed here so that they could let him know when they were closed. He didn't mind the walk down in the morning, get the blood pumping, fresh air. He just hated to walk down there to find out they were closed and have to walk all the way back. History of the Frost family. William Prescott Frost Sr. was the Grandpa Frost. This is an artist rendition. They don't have any pictures of him, but his son, William Prescott Frost Jr., Grandpa was an abolitionist. Jr. was a Copperhead, was a sympathizer, and went down to join the Confederate Army. Grandpa sent people down to haul his ass back. He eventually married Isabella, and they had 2 children. Oh wait, let me go back. He got a job as a headmaster of a school, a boys' side of the school. Isabella was the headmistress of the female side of the school. And eventually he died of consumption, or we know as tuberculosis. But before then, they had Robert and Jenny. Jenny was very smart and worked very hard at her education, where Robert just sort of did what could go by. So the fact that when she was in 4th grade, he was still in 3rd. She bypassed him. And they came back. He died in San Francisco, where he had taken the family, and that left, she had to sell off everything. They had like $8 to their name, and Grandpa sent money to bring his son's body and bring the family back. And she didn't want to be beholden to Grandpa, so she got a job at the Salem school, and this is her. There's Robert, there's Jenny, and eventually, so when Robert got to high school, in his senior year, he met Eleanor Miriam White, and they shared valedictory honors when they graduated in 1892. he tried going to Dartmouth, wasn't really enamored by it, and left. She went to St. Lawrence, and he, because it was long distance, he took his first 5 poems and made them into 2 copies of a book, and went from here to New York State to St. Lawrence to deliver her a copy. And in that time, in the 1890s, a boy did not just show up at a girls' school. She was mortified. She opened the door, took the book, slammed the door. He thought that that was her rejection of him, and he tore his book up and threw it away. So the only copy is her copy, and it's now down in the University of Virginia. And they eventually, when she came back, they did get married, and it was in 1900 that Grandpa looked into it, bought this farm, and he was tired of them bouncing all over the place. And he said that they had to live here for 10 years and 1 day, and it would be legally theirs. If they left or didn't pay him his mortgage, then it reverted to him and they would be gone. Excuse me. Grandpa died in the next year, but his will had the same stipulations, so it now became 11 years. But on 11 years and 10 years and 1 day after his grandfather's death, the for sale sign went up, and they sold the farm and moved away. So right off of the dining room, or right off of the kitchen over there, is the sick room. If you couldn't go up and down the stairs, this was a place you could stay, and it's doubled as a sewing room. So we're in the kitchen, and this beautiful soapstone sink. But see these little grooves here? This is where we sharpen our knives. And we've seen a few wood stoves like this with a water reservoir on the one side. This one, this little foot pedal right here will pop the oven door open, so you have your hand with the cake or whatever. So if you wanted a stove like that and could travel back to 1902, that would be a very expensive stove. It looks cheap or inexpensive to us, but back then, that was a top of the line model. And by the way, this is from Sears, in case you don't remember Sears. So this is the laundry room and summer kitchen.
Yes.
So you didn't heat up the whole house. A little stove would be here. Top of the line washing. And in case you don't know what that is, well, that's a rug beater. It'd beat the dirt out of your rugs. So this, with the wood shed right off of the house, and the house is over here, barn's there. To get through winter, this floor would only be about half that. It would be floor to ceiling wood just to get through one winter. So this was a major thing that had to be done. Come on. So one of the nice things about New England style farms and construction is that in the wintertime, it's pretty harsh. You don't have to go outside. We're in the barn, but there's the necessary. You could go through the door over here, horses there, cows down below, and so you didn't have to go outside in those nasty old storms. And this machine is a bone cutter. You grind it up for animal feed or fertilize it on the garden. And it was advertised as so easy that even a woman could run it. Forgive me for saying that. Well, when Robert sold the farm here after that 11 years and 1 day, he moved the family to England, where he could teach, and he wrote some poetry while he was there. He had two or three books published. The trouble is, the way English publishers worked at the time, is they did not pay royalties till you had sold 10,000 copies, and they would only print up 8,000. So he was very discouraged, and World War I was going on at the time, and he was able to, the Germans had a truce sort of in the ocean where they wouldn't torpedo any ships for a month, and that coming or going from England. So that gave him a window of opportunity to get out and get back here to the US. Well, he, bringing the family back, didn't know it, but the wife of his English publisher was coming back on the ship, and she was friends with an American publisher's wife. And when his books were first published, she sent copies to her friend here in the States, and told her, you really need to look into this guy, he's very good. So when he came back, not only was he already a published author and well known from those books, but he had a royalty check waiting for him. Nice surprise when you're coming home and you're worried about what you're going to be doing now. On the sale of my farm, well away, and be it so. To the stranger let them go. Ever cheerfully I yield, pasture, orchard, mowing field. Yea, and I can yield them house, barn, and shed, with rat and mouse. To dispute possession of these I can unlearn to love, since I cannot help it. Good. It shall be no trespassing, if I come again in spring, in the grey disuse of years, seeking ache of memory here. There's a nice walking path around the farm, and along the way there are these placards with the poems. This is Hyla Brook, and he wrote a poem about this. It's really neat to see and be where he had the inspirations. I'll be leaving Robert Frost's farm now, get back on the road, see what else I can find, and I'm going to leave you with one more of his poems that I really like. See you later, YouTube. Two roads diverge in yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked on as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took to the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no steps had trodden black. Oh, I marked the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.